Congresswoman, this comes from William from Jackson Heights. As a DACA recipient, I'm concerned that Congress and the president is allowing anti-immigrant groups and Republicans to hijack the border narrative and paint a negative picture of immigrants to the detriment of real reform. What kind of work is being done to reach across the aisle to pass reform? Secondly, what kind of initiatives are being taken to ensure that an accurate picture of immigration is being portrayed in the media and to the public?
Yeah. Well, this is an excellent question. And I want to dive in, head first in really discussing what is behind what's going on at the border. As we've seen, there are arrivals of undocumented children, rather unaccompanied children that have come at the border, and this has led to completely inhumane and unacceptable, horrifying conditions of children in CBP custody. And it's unacceptable and it's horrifying. And I've been to these facilities. I've seen these facilities. As we know, we've been a part of this issue and engaged in this issue, and actually trying to figure out real solutions on this for a long time. So I'm going to start with yesterday I spoke a little bit on this on social media, but I'm going to get a little bit into this. I started with the macro yesterday. I want to start with the micro today, where people, I think we're looking at what's going on in these facilities. It's unacceptable, it's horrifying, and it's a result of the fact that we have built our immigration system on the same principles and scaffolding as our carceral system. And neither are just, and neither are currently designed to, or exist to suit the needs that help us as a people. And so, one of the things that we know and that I've believed for a very long time is that these systems for processing, which is the word that's used, which is also carceral language, but these systems that exist are wrong. They're wrong. These are facilities that are designed the way that our carceral facilities are designed. And they're designed, and our carceral facilities are not even designed in a way that suit our human or even societal needs to actually solve the problems that we have. So what's actually behind what we're seeing in these conditions? One is that when we have these kind of undulations, right? When we have these larger numbers that come up of unaccompanied children at our border, what we see is a couple of things. We have the reason why they're coming, which is sending the reason why these larger numbers are coming, and then the reason why they are prevented from kind of moving on, or what's keeping them from moving on, that's blocking them, which creates this huge pile up of inhumane conditions that are wrong. And so let's talk about this part here where children, which are preventing the actual processing of children as quickly as possible, because under normal conditions, what happens is that if an unaccompanied child arrives to our border, they are not supposed to be held in CBP, which is Customs and Border Patrol. They're not supposed to be detained by CBP. They're not supposed to be kept or transferred or et cetera, detained by ICE. They're supposed to be held, and their care is supposed to be managed by the Office of Refugee Resettlement, I believe. And under that, Health and Human Services. Those are different facilities that I have also toured, which are, in a lot of ways, have a lot of proximity to social service facilities. They have teachers, they have social workers. And essentially what happens is that about 80% of the kids that we see come in have a direct and named family member in the United States. 80%. So 80% of the kids that we see have a family member here that is named, and vast majority of times can be located. And so what is happening is that for a lot of kids, that time, our current processes and the current way that the administration, or that many administrations try to find these kids' families, is that they have to locate them. And then there is an elevated responsibility or an elevated duty to verify their identity. So that includes DNA tests, that can include other forms of documentation, et cetera. And what had happened recently with the Trump administration is that a lot of times people would come forward to claim the child in their family, and they were arrested by the Trump administration. So there's a lot of fear. In some cases, this is not in general what's going on, but this is a contributing factor. There's a lot of fear among a lot of communities about coming forward to reunite with a child. That's in some cases. In other cases, it just takes, it's that elevated duty to verify identity, et cetera, can take upwards of a month. And when you have more children that are arriving unaccompanied, it creates what we're seeing in these facilities, which then HHS is not able to hold them. And then we have these complete inhumane conditions at CBP facilities and some of just the horrifying things that we've seen. Now, the first thing I want to say is that the fact that this keeps happening over and over and over again is a political failure by both parties. And I want to be very clear about that, because I don't want to draw false equivalence. What is happening here is not the same as what happened during the Trump administration, where they took babies out of the arms of their mothers and deported their families and permanently traumatized these children, some of whom we don't know will ever be reunified with their family again, which is a level of human rights violation that is just simply not the same. Both of these things are barbaric and they're wrong. But when you rip a baby out of the hands of a mother, you cannot draw the same comparison. And anyone who is trying to do that is doing a profound disservice to the cause of justice. So I don't want to excuse any of this, but I don't think we should also get them twisted together, because one is not the same. And we cannot dust that under the rug. And by the way, those families are owed reparations, period.